Good evening and welcome all to Chatter Girl. We are here with the very beautiful Ms. Millsop. They won't let us live together, Sarah, but we can do it ourselves. This could be very dangerous. So I've got a little smidgen of vodka and Coke, and Ms. Millsop has...
I might have a mulled wine on the go.
It's very fancy. It was all steamy when she first joined me.
It was. We have been having a little pre-chatter, haven't we?
They're playing music in my ear again. Wait. I've got very young people's earphones on and they keep playing music to me and I don't know how to sort it. So at the minute, I've got like a whole soundtrack going.
They're going to end up hearing me and then you'll end up hearing their music.
Or I'll end up rapping again, which you did seem to enjoy before when I rapped you earlier. It seemed to be quite the thing. Right, so just a little bit of housekeeping before we go any further is just to say that within Chatter Girl, this is a safe space, so we don't do any negative comments towards any channel. It is all-encompassing for all channels that, you know, so that's Create and Craft, that's Hobby Maker, that's HSN, anything you want to say as far as that's concerned, any creative thoughts you have, absolutely brilliant. Sarah and I cannot answer customer service emails or anything like that. We don't know the things. We don't know. This is not about those things. This is purely just a chit chat about craft, because the whole idea of Chatter Girl is purely that we love to craft and we don't really get a chance, do we, to sit and chat about craft. And because we're busy, you know, and actually it's a passion that we all have. And I kind of wanted to feel that passion outside of the workplace and with you guys, because you guys at home are so passionate and so really inspirational with your crafts, that it was kind of a way of chattering about that. So please, no negativity. This is a safe space for everybody to be. There was some very dubious links in the last one, I have to say. Please don't click on any link. Don't click on links. There's links for Sarah in the actual comment thread thing. Anybody who puts a link on here that looks a bit Percy filth, don't click it.
Did you have some naughty people?
Yeah, they were trying to do, there was Percy filth on my feed. I had to go and weed it out afterwards. So apologies in advance. If that happens, it's not me.
We used to get
I haven't got the energy, just so. So, Sarah Millsop, it is an absolute pleasure to have your company this evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Lisa Horton, can you heckle? You can heckle, but Lisa Horton, we will also heckle you about the fact that you go everywhere with a tub of watermelon. That's not even a joke.
I actually saw when she did it with you and she had a tub of watermelon.
Very strange creature that she is, but we do love Ms. Lisa Horton.
It's me being very unprofessional and I rocked up with mulled wine.
Me with vodka. I think I had a can of Stella last week. Could have been worse. It could have been special brew. Laura Dudley, who is...
Normally we're all professional, aren't we? And we're doing it for people that pay us and we have to be very well behaved. And this is just like we're sat in the green room just having a little chat, which we never get to do.
I know. So it's just really nice. And I love Chatter Girl for that. And that's what I want it to be. It's just a place for chilling. Laura Dudley, who is one of my absolute best friends, and she is the loveliest human in the world. She has a ceramic shop over in Knaresborough. And she is just a queen. She has just won. I can't remember what the name of the title of the award was. Laura Dudley, what was the name of your award? But it was a really lovely name for an award and it was perfect for her. So hopefully Laura will put a comment.
And links to the shop, please. I want to go check it out after.
Links. It's just, Laura's just the loveliest human. She does loads for charity and stuff. So she's really cool. So Sarah Millsop, the reason we've got Sarah on here is Sarah has a project going that is out. Super Egg Lady. That's what it was, Laura. Super Egg. I mean, it sounds right for Laura. Super Egg Lady.
It's not what I had expected, but it sounds great.
She is a super egg. She is. She's a good egg. So, Sarah Millsop.
Yes.
Your project outside of Create and Craft or any of those realms, I think is one of the most exciting things that's happening at the minute in the craft industry, genuinely, because I know how much work it is because I used to do something very similar, but purely for templates. So I know exactly what goes into it and it's hard slog. I also know that there's something really fulfilling about it. So what you've done is created a space for everybody, and a really lovely space. So I think it's a really important thing that you're doing. So I'm going to kind of hand over to you and ask you to kind of explain it, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, of course.
While I drink vodka and listen to the weird lady rapping in my ear.
You just rap along and I'll
you keep talking. I'm going to
need you. Yeah, so my craft shop is what my husband and I have launched. John hasn't been in the craft industry, but he is a long-suffering craft husband. Has given up most of his house to craft and craft supplies for as long as we've known each other. So obviously I've been on Creating Craft TV since 2010, 2011, in various different realms of, like, up until 2-3 years ago, up until lockdown, in fact, was doing the regular beading and jewelry making shows. And we always used to sell big kits and, you know, tell everyone to make and sell, and, you know, this set will make you 100 necklaces or whatever it might be. Yeah. And I think it's every crafter's dream or ambition to sell what they make. But also for me, in the years that I've been crafting, I'll always make something and everyone will go, you should sell that. You could sell that. And I used to go, how? Where? What do we do? And places, obviously there are websites out there, the likes of Etsy, that now have 3.5 million sellers on it. Yep. I mean, it's worldwide. There are big companies out there. If I have a spare couple of bracelets and I upload them, how on earth am I going to be seen?
It's not just that either. It's kind of the cost that's attributed to that.
Huge.
Because it is huge. And so, you know, you've sat at home and you've created something that you're really proud of and you really love. Selling work is really hard because pricing work is really hard.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've talked about many times to many people, because in actual fact, so making a bracelet might cost you £2 to make a bracelet with the you know, your core materials.
Yep.
But then you've got to sit down and think, if you're going to do it properly, how much electricity was used in the room that I was sitting in while I was making that product for the 3 hours that it took me? If I was to work at minimum wage for 3 hours, how much would I be receiving? And you'd probably get, I don't know, I don't even know what minimum wage is at this stage, but say it's 10 quid an hour. So that's £30 plus your core materials, 33. Then you're taking into account, you know, everything else that you've done. So suddenly your bracelet is now £40 bracelet. That's absolutely brilliant. You've got to make a profit on that. So we're going to now put it at £50. And that's fantastic. If you can get £50 for your bracelet, that's amazing. But then these big companies, these big platforms that you're selling it on, they're going to take half of that.
And that £50 with the £2 materials that you made it with. So these aren't expensive, all singing, all dancing, you know.
Exactly.
And this is where people get stuck. And especially in my more current realm of things with Craft Buddy, Forever Flowers, Crystal Art, you know, all these things, they're huge, big mass kits, and they really can be businesses in a box. I mean, people are using these to decorate wedding venues. They're hiring things out. I was at the NEC a couple of weeks ago, and the amount of people that came and showed me photographs of what they've been doing, where they've used them, how they're selling them. It was amazing. And like full-on wedding venues. It was beautiful, which is what we want you to use them for. But what I felt slightly responsible for giving people this dream of being able to sell these crafts, and for it to be, I think, certainly to begin with, it's not going to be a full-time job for you, because it's hard to make that money back, especially if you need to invest in stock and packaging and posting and a website and a Facebook page and an Instagram page and marketing, and the list is endless.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do was, I've got all these followers, you know, throughout the years within the industry. I've got so many contacts from regular teams that I work with now, going all the way back to 2008.
Yeah.
And I thought, how can I link all of this together? I know the big companies. I know the people doing the studios. I know the people who write the magazines. I know the crafters who can make stuff for each other, but how can I put everyone in touch with each other? My husband and I spoke about it. I've wanted to do it for a long time. And I think with the way that the crazy world has gone this year, it just seemed like the right time. I wanted to have the website up and running before Christmas. I wanted to build an education hub. So I would say that my two main things, we were talking about this earlier, I can kind of turn my hand to most crafts, but for me, I am sales and education. And I thought what I want to do is educate people to sell, because it's all very well you making that lovely bracelet and then going, okay, for me to sell it, it needs to be £50. You take a picture, you upload it and you go, why isn't it selling? Yeah. Because it's all to do with the photography, the lighting, how you stylize it, how you word the description of it, how you solve somebody's problem. There's so much more to it than just putting it online. There's 100%. A huge backstory that goes around it all. And I've learned that through all the companies I've worked with, through my experience. And I'm now helping our followers to learn all of that and to do it. But they don't have to build the website. They don't have to pay for the advertising and the marketing. We're doing that. So we've done it as a monthly subscription because I didn't want to take any commission from sales. This isn't for me for you to upload your products and I'm going to take money from it. Thank you very much. I'll make money while I'm sleeping. It's not what it was about at all.
No.
It was no commission, no listing fee. You can have it there as long as you want. You can do as much in your shop as you want. You are in charge of it. But the £10 a month that we charge for the subscription is for the education. That's like your little contribution into the marketing kitty pot and going, okay, I've got 100 followers on Facebook, but with my £10, you can go and turn that into a magazine article that will go out to 100,000 people, you know, or mention on a YouTube channel that's got hundreds of followers. It's opening up those avenues and making the most of my contacts and our contacts and putting people all in touch with each other. That lady that makes the bracelet and lists it, she's going to need a birthday card for her mum. She doesn't make cards, but I can put the community together so that they are then supporting and buying from each other as well. And it's I think more now than ever to support small businesses.
Getting it back to small business, because listen, crafting is one of the hardest markets to crack. Because it's competitive, you know, and it's one of those things where the realism of it is, like you were saying, you go onto Etsy, how many sellers are there on Etsy? And we can all have a go and we can all try it. Some of us are successful, some of us aren't. And you've got to start at that starting point where I can only devote 3 hours a week to what I'm doing because I work full time. I've got kids.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I can do 3 hours. And in that 3 hours, I can produce 2 items. Yeah. And if I can sell those, I can buy more supplies to create
it just more items. It just becomes that self-funding. Yeah.
It absolutely does. And it's so important. So I am so happy that you're doing what you're doing. So I'm going to try and do this. So prepare yourself for everything to go wrong.
Thanks,
any second now. So what I just want to do is just see if I can put this on. So bear with. Yay! So this is, look at me being technical. I can't stop the lady rapping in my ear, but I can certainly put that on. There's a lot of sweary words going on in my ear as we're speaking from the 1980s. But yes, so this is Sarah's website, first of all. And I think it's beautiful. I also know the lady who made the website.
I was going to say, yes.
He is one of my absolute best friends from Wales, and I love the bones of her. So this is
all just completely understood what I was going for. And I know a lot of people will look at it and just go, it's a bit plain, it's a bit boring, it's monochrome. It was my exact brief to her. Because we have nearly 80 other shops on here. And the whole reason I called it my craft shop was so that when you talk about your shop, you can say it's my craft shop and then your URL on the end of it. So I didn't want it to be branded for anybody else. Everybody else has ownership of this. And therefore, some people have pink logos, purple logos, brown logos, multicolored logos. So it's how do all the products and all the logos stand out on there? So we just paired it all back so that everybody else could, showcase their own branding on there as well. But I just think that's
really, really important. So one of the first things I noticed when I was looking at the website, which I think is really telling about Sarah's project, is the first thing that you see is support. Friendly, helpful, customer support. Listen, that's important, because I will say that for the majority of crafters, not all of them, but for the majority of crafters, we're not technically minded.
Yeah, and that's why we did it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, this, you know, when you look at this website and you're like, that's great, I don't know what I'm doing here. How do I get my bracelet that I've made onto that?
Yep.
And the fact that it says support, that's just a really lovely message. Secure payments, also incredibly important, and then start selling. So you've got all your important messages sitting at the top of the website, and then it goes through at the bottom where you've got, you know, all your arts and prints, all the different sorts of categories that there are. I love the fact that you've got gifts £5 to £10. That's great.
Because also with, you know, there are things on there for £1.50.
Yeah.
There are things on there for 50, 60, 70 odd pounds, even more, actually, over £100 products. But just think, if you're sat there tonight, I mean, what would £1.50 get you these days? Absolutely nothing. You'd probably even
packet of hula hoops. I think a can of Coke's about £1.50.
Well, I was about to say, even the big bottles of water that I buy are now nearly £2. Yeah. And you could sit there tonight and just even go into the category that says gifts £5 to £10 and just buy somebody a Christmas card, a treat to yourself, a coaster, a bauble. You will make, on the receiving end of that order, you will make somebody so happy. And it's just supporting the whole community. And our whole motto, our whole ethos is shop, sell, and support. So you can shop on there, you can buy on there, you can sell on there, but we're all supporting each other.
And I think it's the difference, isn't it? I mean, you all know, all crafters know that actually that £1.50 goes into a pot. You know, you've seen the Facebook posts where it goes to help a little girl go to ballet class, or because this is actually going to humans from humans.
Absolutely.
It's not a machine. It is exactly what it is. But it's so beautifully done and so beautifully styled. And I think for me, the most important thing about the website, and I mean, Stacey, who made it, is amazing anyway. But the great thing about this is to go in and go, all the major points are on the homepage. I don't need to worry about anything else. All the major points are on the homepage. What's even more important about that, though, is that then once we've had a really good route through that website, and you should definitely go to it. So the link for it is in the YouTube page, but also the website. It's a really easy address to remember, which is mycraftshop.uk. Couldn't be easier. But what then goes from that, and I think is even more important, is the Facebook group, the Facebook page. And I think there's a group as well, isn't there?
There is. So this is the open group. So absolutely anyone can join. We've just started doing, ordinarily our group rules are that, you know, we don't really want people listing their Etsy shops on there and whatever else. It is a My Craft Shop group. But what I set up this week was a following thread, so that everyone could post their business pages, their Instagram pages, their Facebook pages, whatever it might be, however you sell. And we all go and follow each other. You know, we have to be reasonably careful with the group, of course, because there are also people paying to sell with us. So we have to shut it down and keep it a little bit closed. But it's a lovely, just general, business-minded or not, crafters who have no idea about setting up a business or even things like a Facebook page. So this is our open group and everyone can put things in there and ask questions. When you subscribe to My Craft Shop, you also get added to a private Facebook group, and that is our subscribers group. It's all the people who are actively selling or hoping to sell. Because for that £10 a month, we also host 4 to 5 workshops a month. Sometimes that's on photography, it's on selling, it's commercial make. Sometimes it's just a nice little chit chat. It's marketing, it's how to make a logo, it's how to be present on social media. It's all these sorts of things. It's to tick all of those boxes. And I bring in from the community people who can help, and I'm putting them in touch with, of course, our sellers. And it doesn't matter what field you craft in, or maybe you haven't even opened a shop yet. A lot of people are just using it to get the knowledge and gain I think confidence is a big one. Yeah. It's just to gain the confidence before they're ready to launch it in the new year, for example.
And I think the point where, you can see we're sitting here with 1.2 thousand members. It's really hard to build those kind of numbers for yourself, especially at the minute with Facebook, because the algorithms, when I set up Cut by Hand years ago, it was quite easy. You shared a post and it went out to anyone who followed you and some of their friends. So you got new followers all the time. That's changed. So I went to, it was a few years ago now, but 3 or 4 years ago. And when all the algorithms first changed with Facebook, I'll be really brief about this because it's quite dull. It fascinated me in my weird brain. But
I get it.
There's a whole thing that they did on Facebook where basically, if you have, let's just say you've got 100 followers or 100 people on your channel. When you put out a post, Facebook will only show that to 10% of your followers. So it only goes to 10 people. If 10% of those people like or comment on it, they'll send it out to a few more. Not many, but a few more. So you've got to get people commenting. You've got to get people liking. You've got to get all of those things going. And that's not easy.
We literally just had our workshop last week all about this. And this is why, based on that, we were like, right, we've all got beautiful pages with lots of content and we're all super busy. Let's show Facebook that people want to see it. Go to your friend's Facebook, go to this page in this following thread and like it. If you see a post, like it, comment on it, share it, because the robots, because that's all it is. It's not a person looking at it going, that is actually a really beautiful picture. I'm gonna let that go. It is just a robot just monitoring the traffic. If not many, you might scroll past something, and I'm very guilty of it. I'll scroll past something and I'll watch a reel or a video and I'll watch the whole thing and I'll go, that was lovely, and I'll carry on going. And you have to just stop yourself and go, no, I'm going to like it. I'm going to
take the time. But the other side to it as well, which I didn't realize. Oh no, she's singing again. She's very loud.
Oh dear.
Just so you know. The other thing that I didn't realize, and I found out recently, and this isn't advertised particularly, is that Facebook also rate you higher for your posts. This is even on your personal pages. This isn't even just on businesses. This is, your own personal little feed. If you put a love heart or a laughing face over a like. So the fact that you can just press like, Facebook don't really see that as you interacting with it. If you take the time to hold your thumb down and click to a love heart, more interaction.
You're more invested.
You're more invested. So these are the things that you can do for yourself. Also, in order to have a business page on Facebook, it has to be separate to your personal feed. So just make sure that when you put a post up and it feels uncomfortable, but go on as yourself and go and like and love your 100%. Own posts. Share them, love them, because if you can do that, that word spreads. Every single one is important.
So
just take the time to do it.
And this is for people starting out and thinking, okay, I won't set up a website yet. I'll put it on Facebook and my friends and family will go on and have a little look. It's so much bigger than just putting a picture out there, which even now on Instagram doesn't bloody work. It's got to be a video or a reel. That's a whole other thing. But it's such a minefield, and a lot of people don't realize that. And that's why we're the ones doing that hard work for people, because how on earth would everybody individually stand a chance of knowing these things, getting to know these things, know the people in the field, have a group of, network supporting them. Lots of people sell things, people who work in hospitals, and they'll take stuff in at lunchtime, or they'll put things in the canteen, or, in your office, you'll have it on your desk, and at lunchtime people come around and buy things. If you don't have that kind of network with friends and family and reaching out to people, how on earth would you do it and establish it? And that was the whole point why we set it up. And we only started in September. So we've got over 3,000 followers on our page,
Brilliant.
1,200 people in our group, and about 125 subscribers in our group already. And that's without, because me, of course, thinking that, with all this free time I sit on, I needed another business to set up.
Of course.
this is at the moment, we've got huge plans for next year with marketing, and it really is amazing. But this is everyone in from like, you know, ground level, and we're building it up. So we've had amazing support, and I can't thank our followers and our subscribers enough, because they put up with us. John, my husband, like I said, he's not crafty at all. And bless him, I left him for 4 days while I was at the NEC. And I just said to him, you're going to have to answer all the questions and all the Facebook messages and all the posts and, you know.
Do the things. You do the things.
You do it all. And he's like, okay. And then everyone was so lovely, because he's like, I'll try my best to get back to you by lunchtime, but Sarah's at the NEC. And this is only him and I. You know, this is not a big business. These are, you know, as and when we can answer you. And it's very down to earth. It's, if somebody wants some all singing, all dancing, you know, we're not quite there yet. Keep an eye maybe in a year. But this is quite literally, you email me, I answer you, you know, when I can. It's normally within that day, of course. But everyone's been so supportive. And I think that makes people appreciate it more as well.
Well, I think because they're you, essentially. You know, they're not looking at you to be Etsy. They're looking at you to be you.
Yeah, and to look at their picture and go, oh, just take it to the angle a little bit more, or pop a light on like this. You're not going to get anyone from Etsy going, your description's really good, but just tweak this little bit if you can. They're just going to leave you to it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that's what we want for our customers.
But also, I think, you know, if I go onto Etsy, I can go and buy some notebooks. I can go and buy, I don't know, you know, a planter, all these things that are not necessarily craft. So to have somebody who's so to have someone who is a stalwart within the craft industry, like Sarah, who's been in it for years and who kind of knows that kind of scheming, I suppose, which makes it sound bad, but you know what I mean, that schematic theme where it kind of runs forward and we know where it starts and where it ends from the selling points, because it's what we do for our job. Absolutely. So Sarah's got that knowledge. She knows how sales work, and she knows how sales work within craft. She knows the audience. She knows the things that we're trying to pinpoint. So the fact that we can use you to kind of hold our hands and take us forward, I think that's just gold.
And I think there's a lot of companies for a very long time, and I'm sure you will have remembered saying this time and time again, Carla, like, you know, you'll get asked about angel policies. Can we make to sell? You know, it's one of the presenters' kind of favorite questions to ask most of the time. Can we make to sell? Is there an angel policy on it? And you go, yeah, of course you can. Then what? The customer has bought the product, they get it home and they go, right, so how do I make money out of this?
And you know,
and by then it's too late, isn't it? We've lost them as a contact. We then can't say to them, okay, let me help you. I'll show you how to make commercial makes with it. And because, you know, you might get, I don't know, 2, 3, 7 minutes, maybe maximum, to demonstrate on TV. And a lot of it isn't based around making to sell.
No,
and there aren't many places out there that will help you do that.
Well, there are two crafters, aren't there? There's the crafter who makes to sell, and there's the crafter who makes as a hobby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both of those people, both categories, could do with some extra cash. Sure. Because we're spending on the things that we love to buy for crafting. So it'd be nice to have some revenue from that. And the joy of something like your site is actually it doesn't matter which one of those camps you sit in. Because if you're making a card for Mother's Day for your mum, and you just make 2 of them, exactly the same, one for your mum, one to sell. It's just that bit of revenue.
The cost of the product, and it goes back in. There's some lovely ladies on there who have gone, actually, do you know what? I was shielding during lockdown, craft kept me going, my room is full to the rafters, and actually, I'll just sell it, no problem.
Yeah.
Because it kept them going, they did what they loved, and that slight detached thought from it as well is a good place to be to begin with, because you're not too hung up on recouping that money for your time, because it's, you know, it wasn't a full-time job, and it wasn't, I have to make this to make money. We very much in our workshops also encourage people not to lose the love for it. because once you lose the love and it becomes work and a job that you have to do, not that you enjoy, that's what will ruin it. And that's what we want to keep the love for as well. You might be busy making all day, but come and have a workshop with us in the evening and talk to everyone about how you're feeling, or you're struggling to find your crafty mojo or whatever else. It's a community of like-minded people, whether you make resin vases or you make crochet quilts. You know, everybody loves craft in the same way and is there for the same reason.
And crafting is diverse. There's not a craft. There are a million crafts that we can crack on with. And actually, one of the things
we found that quite hard when making all the categories for the website, because I suddenly realized, okay, out of my 120 people, they all make something different. But again,
that's the thing.
Imagine just emailing Etsy and going, actually, I've made some awareness charms. Can you add a category on your homepage, please?
Yeah.
They'd be like, no.
No. Find a category and make it fit.
I'll do it now.
But then how do you get found? If you've put yourself into a category that's not a category because you make something that's so different, how do you get found on somewhere like Etsy? You can't. And that's why these websites, you know, it's something like this, and there aren't many. In fact, I don't know of any small websites, not to be rude and say it's small, but
no, it is
where you're homegrown. You know, a homegrown website there's power in that, because if I can go on there, and for me, if I was to put quilling on there and you type in quilling, I know I'm going to be seen.
Yeah.
If I put mine on Etsy, probably not. Just probably not.
And even with some of the other UK, because I did a lot of research before I did this, because I thought, you know, is there a need for it? Am I just being silly? Is everyone finding their way? I just don't know about it. I looked a lot, and I then realized that there really was a need for it. And when John and I did our little post before we'd even launched, just to say what we were doing, and it was an idea, I thought it would just be like my Create and Craft followers from over the last decade or so. And actually we had such an outpour from admins in craft groups, from people who had never even heard of Create and Craft. You know, because there was me going, oh, it's Sarah from Create and Craft. And these people were like, well, I don't know who you are, but this website sounds amazing. Because when I was doing my market research, I'd go on to some of the other sites, and you'd click into something, for example, like quilling. There'd be 700 pages of product. Yeah. And you go, well, hold on a minute. What if you're on page, I mean, I know when I'm looking for product, you probably lost me after the first couple. So,
but also that might not be made up of, I mean, as an example, quilling, that might not be made up of pictures of quilling. No. That can be your average Joe selling a quilling tool.
Sure.
And often if that's being bought more, it becomes first in the algorithm. Your work gets lost way down the line. And so if we take quilling, for example, just because it's the one that I know the most, if you're looking for, I don't know, a monogram of an initial, and you want it to be quilled, and you go searching for that, unless you're very specific about what you type in, not only do you need to be specific about what you type in, you need to ensure that the person who had the listing tagged the thing that you're looking for, because if it didn't, it's not going to come up in the search engine.
And so this is what we teach our sellers about, you know, because like you say, if that isn't listed in the attributes or the title or the description in the right places, it won't get found. And these are you can't just go, I made this frame, you know, it contains this. It has to be this whole sellable and searchable, you know, listing in the description and everything. And we did set up a YouTube, and I take people physically sharing my screen like this through every single aspect of listing, what each of the fields mean, how important it is, you know, all this sort of stuff. And things like filtering the pages, having the attributes in searches and all that kind of stuff, that will come along with time as well. John and I have probably invested as much as we can at the moment into fine-tuning the website, but it's certainly getting there. And the more it's just like with the small businesses we've been saying about supporting each other. the more people come and support us, the bigger and better it'll get too, because we just reinvest straight back into marketing, into building a bigger, better website, into making sure that people can have the categories they want and, you know, and not get lost.
Yeah, of course. And there's a finite amount of resources that you can put into anything when you first start out. And certainly doing what you and I do for a living, because it's sort of tentative as to how many shifts you can get and this kind of thing. You know, we don't live on full-time wages. We live on show to show. And so there is a finite amount that we can put forward. So you've done an amazing thing here, and to be able to then put the support in it. And like I said, I mean, this is, you know, neither here nor there, but just when I first started crafting, I was a paper cutter, and everything for paper cutting was run on templates. Yeah. And so I set up this website, which no longer exists. So I'm not pushing for, you know, anything there, but it was called Total Templates. And it's exactly the same kind of thing. Everybody had their own shop. You could list your own templates. And we had loads of people on there. And it's an amazing thing. What I didn't have was the education and support. So I didn't do that side of it. So what we did was take, I think it was 10% commission, I think. We just took the lowest amount we could possibly get it to. Because the other side to it is you've got to actually pay for the website. So you could do all of this for free, but you have to pay for the website. And so you can't do it for free even if you wanted to, because, you know, you've got to pay for the actual hosting, everything else.
And this is what people don't realize. For every functionality of the website, you have to pay for a plugin, you know, and their annual fees. If you still want your website to do this, you've still got to pay this every year.
and it keeps going. So, you know, it's about everything and everything. But you know what? Just it is a really nice thing. You're sitting at, I went to Yorkshire 2 weeks ago and emptied my old house, and it was chaos. And I mean, Laura Dudley, who I don't know if she's still here, but Laura, who was watching earlier, came and helped me in my panic state. And basically, we ended up eating pizza. But that's besides the point. It was absolute chaos. And the craft room that I had in Yorkshire was 10 times fuller than the one I've got here. Because it's been 8 years of living in that particular house. It builds up. Yeah. It got to the point where all the quills that I've made over the last few years, I put in a skip. I took them to the tip and they were binned. And we're talking about, if I was selling them, hundreds of pounds worth of artwork. And I had to put them in it because I couldn't bring them. And it's not just about how much they're worth in value, it's how much time I took to make them. Absolutely. Because some of these items, you're talking 3 days worth of work in order just to make it. So, you know, it's heartbreaking. And I think having a space like my craft shop where you could just list them. If I'd have had the chance to bring them and I'd have been on the ball, I would have just listed them on there. Absolutely. Because listen, the other side to this is, it might not sell in a week, it might not sell in 2 weeks, but at some point you're going to get a little ping from PayPal or whatever that just says, I just sold something. And I can tell you categorically, not as a demonstrator, not as any of those things, but as a crafter, when that little ping comes through and somebody has liked your work enough,
a little happy
in it. Oh, it is that. There's no feeling in the world like that. That probably is the biggest high you can ever have, because they didn't just pass you by, they loved you and they loved your work. It's the best.
And you know what makes us laugh is that every time that happens on our website for one of our customers, John and I feel just as happy.
Exactly.
I remember the first sale that went through. I think we've been going for a couple of weeks and we were putting the word out there, and, you know, everyone was listing their stuff, and it took people, you know, a good week or so to get, you know, in the swing of things.
Yeah.
And I remember I was just going to bed and John was on the PlayStation in the other room. And I logged into the back end of the website and I was like,
oh my God.
Wait, what? And we'd had like 3 sales within like the 6-hour period that I hadn't looked at it.
Brilliant.
It was probably less than that, actually. It was probably only 3 hours. And I ran through to where he was gaming, ripped his headset off. I was like, 3 people made sales on their website. Oh, and he's like, whoa. It was crazy. And we do it every time. We'll text each other, you know, he'll be at work, I'll be at work, we'll log on and we go, oh my God, I've got commission to pay out tonight. Woo, woo, woo. You know.
And it's such a lovely thing. And it's the craft community is one of the nicest communities I've ever been part of. It's home. And I think, so for me, things like, because obviously, you know, I've been very open from the very beginning that I've had mental health issues. And crafting for me has been the thing that's kind of carried me through. You know, it's taken me to much better places, sometimes from dark places. And to be able to then sell it, to be able to then say, or it's not the selling it. Because for me, when I started, certainly with Cut by Hand, it wasn't the money. It was the acceptance. It was the fact that I've made something once.
It's making for a purpose as well. Yeah. So
motivation.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I would love to craft more often than I do. A big part of my job is admin. And this is day job as opposed to my craft job. That's all admin. But the day job, of course, I get to go on TV and I get to demonstrate. You don't get to really make anything while you're demonstrating.
When was the last time? What did you last craft for you?
I can't remember. Actually, I'll let you into a secret. I'll talk quietly because she's upstairs. My stepdaughter turned 18 last week. She was in New York with her mum, and we've got a family lunch for her in a couple of weeks. So actually, for every place setting around the table, I've made a little forever flower place stand, and it will be a photograph of her with that person who's going to sit at that seat. So that's
brilliant.
So actually, last weekend while she was away on her holiday and John was at work, I sat for maybe 3-4 hours and I made all of these. So I was bending the floristry wire. I've drilled holes into wooden slats and put them all in and glued all the flowers on and everything else. And I loved it.
Yeah.
Because we work so hard, I'm lucky in that actually sometimes work is just sitting down crafting. I can be feeling stressed and feeling really down, and I'm having, really off weeks at the moment. And actually it'll just be like, right, okay, well, I'll make samples for next week. I'll sit down and make a wreath, or I'll do this, whatever. And I realize when I'm then doing it, gosh, this is exactly what I needed. I needed to get away. We were laughing today because I actually, at the start of lockdown, bought a paint by numbers. I found it was probably a nice unlicensed one, but I found a William Morris Tree of Life paint by numbers. I thought that would look awesome in my new house. Like, we'd only just moved in. I thought I set myself a goal several years ago to have something handmade that I had made in every single room of my home. So I thought that would be the print, like for in the hallway or something. Not knowing what lockdown was going to be, and actually I've never been busier in my whole life, which I'm grateful of because we'd just bought our house. We'd only just moved in. So that was fine.
Nice to have.
So incredibly busy. Didn't get to do any of it. But Craft Buddy do paint by numbers as well. And the only time I get to sit down and do that is when I need to prep my shows. So I've had this one blimmin' canvas on the go for probably nearly 2 years, because every show I do, I'll demo a little bit and I'll do a bit more. And it's probably sat like that for about 8 months because I just don't get time to do it, because I'm not very good at making time for myself. I know I need it, but unless it's work, am I really benefiting? It's not helping me get ahead for tomorrow. It's not helping me relieve my stress for next week, or et cetera, et cetera. So I'm always going. And today I thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to sit and do some of this paint by numbers because I want to have it like 3/4 done before I go to the studio. And I sat here for nearly 2 hours today, just painting.
Love it.
And I could feel the tension. I'm probably going to sound a bit crazy, but I had relaxing music on. I had a wax burner on. The smell, I'm very intimate, like my smells chill me out. I had a relaxing wax melt on. I had music on. Everyone else was out. And I just sat here and painted for hours. And I just thought, how lucky am I? Because this is work.
Yeah.
But I don't make that time for myself unless I have a reason for it. And so sometimes the best thing to do is to sit down and craft. But unless you have, going full circle back to my point, a purpose for making it, we're not very good at allowing ourselves that downtime.
I think for me, because like I said, in the past, I'm good. I'm in a good place at the minute, but in the past I have struggled with mental health. So I think for me, I never purposefully craft.
Yep.
Every now and again, I'll find myself crafting.
Yep.
Like I'll just be doing it, and I'll suddenly think, "Oh, we needed this then." So
like your brain's just going, "I know
now."
what to do.
Yeah, I think my brain. It's like literally my brain goes, "You need to stop." You know how sometimes if you take a holiday, suddenly you get ill when you take a holiday because it's your body's way of going, we're stopping. So like yesterday,
I'm ill every Christmas.
There you go. Same thing. So yesterday, I won't show you the front of him. This is just me playing. So this is yesterday. I'm suddenly in the midst, and I'm so busy at the minute. There's no time for this. So I've got a million of these things, and he'll go in the bin because it's not something she's singing again.
I knew. I was about to say to you, you're touching it again, you're going to get singing.
I know, because they keep falling out. And so I can't hear you. I think by the end of this, I'll have the full... Oh, I've moved on to Gloria Estefan.
Oh,
that's very exciting.
Amazing.
I'm an 80s girl.
I'm trying to
which I think I'm just going to keep lost. But, so yesterday, I started a clay sculpture.
Oh my God.
So this is me. This is what happens. So you can see he's not very hairy anywhere else because I haven't got the rest of him done. But this is what happens to me. I will just find myself thinking, well, today, if I was to do something, I've lost an earplug, by the way. It's somewhere. I can see it in my...
Oh, it's in your hoop plug.
Oh, look at me, but it's magnetic. Oh, that's exciting. No, don't distract me. I'll suddenly find myself in the midst of doing something because with all of the time I spend prepping, doing all of those things, sometimes we just need to stop. And that's what crafting is.
This is what a lot of our sellers find. They didn't make it to sell it. They made it because they had a really crap week.
Oh, listen.
Better word. And needed some downtime. And then do you know what? If you list that and it sells, what a bonus.
The best advice, if ever somebody said to me as a crafter, what's the best advice you could give out? I would say to you, never craft for a reason.
Yeah.
Never craft to sell. The first thing that's going to happen when you craft to sell is you're going to try and think of the end user, if you like, the buyer. What do they want?
I'm doing this.
There's no answer.
I need to chill out. I'm going to love it. Yeah.
The minute you start loving what you're doing just for the sake of doing it, because there's a passion in you that is burning to get that out, that's when the art comes. If you're doing it because you think, oh, I need to make a tenner this week on this, you're gonna struggle, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're just gonna struggle, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna sit there and you're gonna be like, well, how am I doing it? Where do I go? You know, and that's the joy of crafting is the joy of crafting.
Yeah.
And so having somewhere like my craft shop where you can go, if this is great, I could list it. If it's not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, if it's not, I had the Sunday that I needed, or the evening chill out that I needed, or...
Well, what this does is it takes the pressure. You listen, the worst thing in the world is when somebody contacts you and they go, can I have a card? I need it to be... okay, I'll tell you a true story. I'll go from a true story. Somebody once messaged me, and this was years ago, and they said, I need you, can you quill a couple sitting on a bench? Right. And I said, I could try, definitely. And they were like, right, fine. I need it to be a pure likeness of my Uncle Kevin. And I immediately just said, no. Because I knew that no matter what I created in that moment, I was going to fail.
Yeah.
I was going to fail. There was nothing I could do that would make that what they wanted it to be, because even if it had been an absolute true likeness, the colors would have been wrong. Something about it, because they had obviously at that point such a vision. They knew what they wanted. I wasn't going to be able to provide it. Yeah. So I never did do Uncle Kevin. And certainly if I'd had to make my own Uncle Kevin, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, but my own Uncle Kevin is missing half an ear because it got bitten off. Literally, there's teeth marks in it. So we don't do my Uncle Kevin either, because that would be a very strange little picture that we were doing. But there you go. There's a little story for you. So yeah, I think always craft because you love the process, not because you want the end result.
You want it. Yeah. What does it provide for you? Yeah.
Because people will see the love. You list that. The joy of doing it on something like my craft shop is that you're doing it because you want it and you're going to list it, not because somebody's asking you to do something specific, and it's one of those things, isn't it? Because the minute if you were to list something on my craft shop and suddenly loads of people start buying that one product off you, you're like, oh wow, I need to sell loads of these. And sometimes that can be detrimental. Sometimes it's best then to move on to the next thing and list that. Keep that listing in, but list your next thing, because sometimes if you trap yourself into that funnel, that can be hard too. It's always about expanding, isn't it? And that's why that's so important. Because if you listen, is it £10 a month from the commission?
£10 a month on subscription. Yeah. On subscription.
Yeah. So if that's the thing, then you're looking at £250 a week roughly, and I can spend that on, oh god, I don't even want to go there. Water.
And what gets you those 4 to 5 workshops? Some months we have more, sometimes we have less. Imagine someone saying, come to a workshop, I'll show you how to make a brand logo and how to do all your social media for £250.
Well, that Facebook workshop I went on, which was paid for by my boss at the time, that was £500 for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So £10
giving people marketing tools.
It's a business. Yeah. That is a business in a box. That's a business in a box.
Yes.
Because actually, essentially, I'm not just getting a place to list the things that I make, which I love, but I'm also getting the tools to know how to expand it.
That's it.
By somebody who's in the industry.
An investment in their business. Yeah.
I love this. I think it's
Thank you. Thank you.
You're just an inspiration, really, because...
Oh, bless you.
Well, listen, you could theoretically have sat on your laurels and just been like, I demonstrate on telly, I'm okay, Jack. What you didn't do, is just sort of sit in that space. What you actually did is go, there's people who want to craft. And it's not about the television channels always. It's about what do you do with the product that you buy from that space? How do you make it into something for you? And I think that's really, really important. Community is everything, right?
It is, exactly. And whether there are people listening to this, watching this, who go, that's all great, but I just like crafting. It's such a nice place to shop, because everything on there is handmade, is designed by crafters who may be crafters like you, but in different fields or different areas of skill and expertise. At some point, everyone's going to need a birthday gift, a birthday card, a Christmas card, Christmas presents, Mother's Day presents, Valentine's presents, whatever it may be. And if you're just thinking, actually, let's shop small this year. Let's support all these people who are really trying to make it work for them for whatever.
Well, if you're a crafter, you understand buying from a crafter.
Absolutely. Exactly. So whether you want to sell your own things or not, just hop on. And if there's something that you see that you like, buy it. Make somebody's day, even if it's just a treat to yourself. And what's really lovely is that our sellers actually buy from each other as well. So it's like, it's just like you pass on, when someone does you a good deed and you go, okay, I'll pass that on.
Yes.
It's all that. It's this rolling community.
There's a whole thing that you can do. Somebody asked me to do it years ago when I was doing hypnosis, funny enough. And I am weirdly a fully trained hypnotherapist, clinical hypnotherapist.
Well, I did not know that.
Yeah, I've got loads of weird qualifications, loads of them. It's like I've collected them over time. When I was doing that, they asked me, there's a name for it, and you join, and it's lots of business people. So I could say there might be a plumber in there, and I might say to a plumber, I need to have my drain fixed. If you do that, I will give you 3 hours worth of hypnotherapy.
I know what it called. Yeah.
And you swap each other's kind of things, you kind of, or you might recommend them to so many people. There's a name for it, and I can't remember what it's called. But that's kind of like what you're doing, but in a less aggressive way.
Exactly. exactly like that. You know, you might buy a bracelet for your sister, and then the person who sells the bracelet might buy a card from you for Mother's Day, you know, because we don't all do the same stuff. There's such a broad range on there that guaranteed you'll be able to find something either that you like or something that's outside of a remit that you can make. You know, I've said to people, don't be those kind of people that walk around craft fairs and go, that's really nice, I could make that. Because you're not going to.
Yeah.
You never will. So just go, that's really lovely. I like it. I'll buy it from you. Well done. Lovely. Thanks for your skill.
Thank you. Thank you for your skill.
Because we'll all look at it and go, yeah, I could make that.
Oh, listen, I started watching. There's a show. There's a show on telly. I can't remember what it's called. But basically, they make the best cakes in the world.
Nice.
And the whole thing is about making cakes and decorating cakes. I got so hooked onto that show, and I must have watched it for about 6 days. I was convinced by the end of it I was the best cake maker in the world. I'm allergic to eggs, so I can't make cakes. But also, I don't even like cake. Apart from that, I've never decorated a cake in my life. And I was like, I could make a cake as big as this room in the shape of a diamond. Because
now I know where to put the dowels in, and I know how to do this, and I know.
I am the best cake maker I was convinced. Which doesn't bode well for the fact that I really love serial killer documentaries. I have managed to not be the best at that. I'm just saying.
I do sometimes say that to Joe. And actually, I was talking to Laura Williams this week in the green room, because I can't remember how we got onto it anyway. That was it, because I was doing Nigel Natter's.
Yes.
And Laura was filming it for us. And he said, you know, when you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up? And it always makes me laugh, because I think, oh God, people are going to think I'm crazy. I'm like, well, I wanted to be a pathologist or a scene of crime investigator. He was like, okay, like that took a turn.
That's not the answer we wanted.
No, it wasn't until Laura finished. She went, I wanted to be exactly the same thing. So then we got into our serial killer dramas and true crime series that we watch and everything else.
Oh, there's loads. There's so many at the minute. I'm very much into cult documentaries as well at the minute. I really wanted to be a dustbin woman.
Did you?
I felt like there wasn't enough in the industry. I really wanted to be the female that did that. I thought it was really important. And it never happened for me. My dream never came true.
Yeah, no, mine didn't for me either, just to put that out there.
I feel quite sad now. My dream never came true. But that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a female dustbin woman, because I felt like, even very young, I felt like it was very,
to kids, there must be a certain element of
There just didn't seem to be any women that did it every time I looked down the street. And also, we had a coal man when I was younger, and he used to deliver coal. And I always used to think, because he was just sort of obviously black from all the coal dust, and I used to think, oh, I would quite like to do that as well. That was my other thing that I quite wanted to do, was either be the coal man or the rubbish, the rubbish collector. And neither of those dreams came true.
I'm sure you collect a lot of rubbish in your house.
Oh, if you could only see.
Live the dream.
I am living the dream. I've just had an amazing delivery from. Every time I get a delivery from them, that literally I'm like a child at Christmas. I've just had the most amazing delivery from We Are Memory Keepers.
Oh, and lovely.
It's one of those things with We Are Memory Keepers, because obviously I am their brand ambassador in the UK, but there's a part of me that's jealous of my job being that, because I love We Are Memory Keepers so much. I can't quite explain that. Other than I have got literally all of their products sitting in the cupboard behind me, like everything. And I will watch stuff and I'll be like, I really need to get that.
Yeah, because you can't use it because it's your job.
And I'm like, you own it. Oh, you go play with it, girl. And I'm like, no, I want to do all of the things.
I need more.
So I've just got all of this stuff through from them. So that's the joy of crafting, isn't it? It's still having that like moment of, oh, that we sort of, we love so much. And crafting is so important. And I mean, we're so blessed in the job that we do.
We are
so blessed.
For that very reason. Like I said, obviously the majority of the time I probably curse my job when I'm getting up at 4 a.m. and doing a 20-hour day, and
it's still got its run of the mill stuff.
Yeah, but to sit there and just be able to go, yeah, I'm going to make a wreath. We get so much product to get to play with, to experiment with, to use.
We were talking about that before the show, weren't we?
Yeah, I mean, talking about John being a long-suffering craft husband, when we bought our house, we actually moved in the week before lockdown, which we were very lucky to be able to do.
Yeah.
And we went from a house that we'd rented together for the last 5-6 years, and this one had a double garage. Well, he got about 2 shelves in there, and that was it.
Doesn't last.
It was floor to ceiling racking with product samples.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? You see this really beautiful big space, and you're like, oh, it's the dream. And literally within 2 days, you're like, yeah, it's a nightmare. I don't know what anything is.
I probably tidy mine up like once a week. And then just as the week goes on, it gets fuller and fuller and messier and messier.
And deconstructed.
Then there's this bit is clear and tidy. Everything else is just carnage.
That's the same in mine as well. And I think that's just a crafter, isn't it? Isn't that what we do?
Absolutely. Creative mess.
I mean, I've got to keep mine reasonably straight because obviously I do Facebook Lives for Carnation all the time. So I've got to keep it reasonably straight. But what you don't see behind the scenes, I mean, literally, it's a lot.
Yeah. There's a reason why my Facebook Lives are always just in one little corner and
keep ourselves zoomed in. The problem that I've got at the minute is the camera that I'm using at the moment. If I was to just move back in my chair, it would wide pan. So it wide pans my dining room. It wide pans the whole of my craft room. Everything that's on the floor. So I have to sit still. And as someone with ADHD, that's not something I can do very easily. So
you're like, yeah, that's look at the rest.
Right. Just in. So one of the things that I'm just going to very quickly talk about, if you're okay with it, Sarah, is to just tell you about some stuff on the websites for the channels, just because it's one of those things that I like to share when I can, and just see what's looking. So Create and Craft. Now, you guys probably know this more than I do. C&C have now got a clearance section on their website, which is awesome. We like a clearance section because it's cheap and because it's stuff that we can go and have a really good route through. And I'm always going to be somebody who, goes for all of this because there's some ace prices on here. So just looking at the Stamperia assorted die cuts, Provence, £3.23. These are things we can chuck in for stocking fillers, all of those things, loads of things that are going on that you can just sort of dump it into your basket really, really cheap. Nice. So my advice, always go to those places, find what you can get onto there. Super cheap items. Love it. So that's a very brief mention of those, and a very brief mention to Hobby Maker as well, because Hobby Maker have done something which I think is ace, which is that they've put Christmas at Hobby Maker all in one place. So on their website here, if you go to Christmas, everything you need to get, because obviously right now, this is what we're buying, this is what we are getting into, and all of their Christmas stuff is in one place. And I think that's such a big boon to just be able to go, you know what, I need Christmas stuff. I don't want to have to go searching and looking. It's all here for me. I can go and grab. So that is that. And I don't have much other gossip to tell you really, other than to say that I do know, and I don't know if it's gone live yet, so I don't know if I'm going to get into trouble for saying this really, but it's me and I take the risk anyway. I do know that Sarah Davies was over at HSN last week in
really?
So there's other stuff going on there as well. So always good to know the bits and bats that are going on. I don't know much other gossip. I don't know if Lisa Horton's still in the chat, but if she is, feel free to put anything that you're doing. I'm obviously going to share this over to the Facebook groups as well. Sarah, you can share it in your Facebook groups.
Thank you. Sorry, my dogs have come in and they've decided that time is up. They've been scratching at the door and I'm like, oh,
bless them, it's time to go. So Sarah, what I will say to you is if you can post this into your group, onto your page or whatever, so you'll be able to share it. Anybody who's then in Sarah's group, if you want to put your links, feel free.
Lovely.
We don't want Percy Filth links. There's no Percy Filth links. We don't want those, but do feel free to put your links to your shop from Sarah's website onto this feed. Absolutely feel free. Please do share it. As we say, these things help. It's going to help your own shop. So please do share the YouTube feed. And obviously there's been a lot of information from Sarah in here that was completely free to you, which was ace. And I promise not to rap to Sarah anymore. You loved my rap.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
You loved it even more when I said to you that the music had stopped playing about 10 minutes before and I was just freestyling.
Yeah. You were just doing it yourself, weren't you?
I was on the move.
Thank you so much for having me, though. It was so nice. And I can't believe you and I have actually got to sit down for an hour together and talk.
And I don't think there was any cursey words.
I think we were very good.
I think we were really good, which is
very
unusual
good
for both of us. I'm
just
I had 4 hours with Wheeler today and now an hour with you, and I have completely managed to not drop the ball.
You've done very well. Excuse me, none of that.
also, just before I go, can I just say, oh, nails.
I have to say, when you were on air the other day, I noticed, and they were looking very good. Were they just sticky-ons? But they're looking fab.
So for 2 years, 18 months, I haven't had any fingernails at all. I've just had.
Goodness me, it was
skin.
so bad, wasn't it?
It was so bad. Your face when I first showed you them, that was a new road, and you were like, oh no. And I have my own fingernails.
Bless you. You've done so well with it.
I'm the proud owner of my own nails.
Now don't mess them up. Nothing on those.
I mean, I was in hospital with my hands last week, so there's no guarantees. Right, I am going to wrap this up, so I will end the live. Sarah, I think you'll probably still be with me, but we'll have ended the broadcast, so just stay where you are for 2 seconds. But to everybody at home, thank you so much. For anyone that can share, please do. It was lovely to have your company. If you've got any craft fairs, anything like that, please do put a comment in the post, and we will see you really, really soon.
Thank you so much.
Please say bye to Earl, because he's very beautiful. We will see you all really soon. Thank you so much for your company. Take care. Bye.
Bye.